Yamato, the largest battleship ever built. In this documentary, we embark on an extraordinary journey into the story of Yamato, the largest battleship ever built, a floating fortress that represented the might of the Imperial Japanese Navy. For years, Yamato was a symbol of ambition, engineering ingenuity, and national pride. In this video, we will explore every aspect of this colossal ship, from its design and construction to its armament, operational history, crew experiences, and ultimate fate. We will see how Yamato changed the way navies approached warfare, and how the rise of air power challenged even the most formidable battleships. The origins of Yamato lie in the interwar period, during which Japan sought to expand and modernize its navy. After World War I, the naval powers agreed on treaties that limited battleship tonnage and armament, most notably the Washington Naval Treaty of 1922 and the London Naval Treaty of 1930. These treaties restricted displacement and gun calibers for new battleships. Japan, seeking parity with Western powers, initially complied, but eventually began secretly designing ships that would exceed these limitations. By the early 1930s, Japanese naval engineers envisioned a ship that would outgun any battleship in the world. The goal was simple, yet ambitious: to create a floating fortress capable of dominating enemy fleets in a decisive engagement. This vision led to the Yamato-class design, with an emphasis on overwhelming firepower, heavy armor, and advanced engineering solutions to maintain stability despite the ship's immense size. Japan's strategic doctrine at the time, known as the Kantai Kessen, or decisive battle doctrine, was built around the concept of using battleships as the centerpiece of fleet engagements. Naval planners anticipated a climactic battle with the United States Navy in the Pacific, and Yamato was conceived as the ultimate instrument to win such a confrontation. Every aspect of the ship, its guns, armor, propulsion, and even the internal arrangement of its compartments, was designed to maximize survivability and lethality in a naval engagement that could determine the fate of the empire. Design and Construction Overview. Construction of Yamato began in 1937 at the Kure Naval Arsenal. The ship measured 263 meters in length and 38 meters in beam, with a draft of over 10 meters. It displaced 72,800 tons at full load, making it the heaviest battleship ever built. The ship's design presented unprecedented challenges. Engineers had to maintain stability while carrying enormous guns and heavy armor. Naval architects incorporated a wide beam and a carefully calculated hull form to ensure seaworthiness. The ship's main armament consisted of 3 triple turrets, each housing 2 46-centimeter guns, the largest naval guns ever mounted on a warship. These guns could fire armor-piercing shells weighing 1,460 kilograms over 25 miles, capable of obliterating any enemy battleship. The turrets were massive, each weighing more than 2,700 tons, and required complex hydraulic systems to rotate and elevate the guns. Engineers spent years perfecting the loading and firing mechanisms to ensure maximum efficiency and accuracy. Secondary armament included 12 155mm guns in 4 triple turrets, designed to engage cruisers and destroyers. For anti-aircraft defense, Yamato carried 48 127mm dual-purpose guns, supplemented by hundreds of smaller caliber weapons, including 25mm cannons. The arrangement of these weapons was carefully planned to provide overlapping fields of fire and protect the ship from multiple attack vectors. Armor protection was another defining feature. The main belt ranged from 410 to 650 millimeters in thickness, providing formidable defense against shells and torpedoes. The main gun turrets were protected by up to 650 millimeters of armor on their faces, with barbettes extending deep into the hull. Deck armor, designed to resist plunging fire, varied between 200 and 230 millimeters. Anti-torpedo bulges and compartmentalized internal hull structures were incorporated to reduce vulnerability to underwater attacks. The sheer scale of construction required thousands of workers, including engineers, shipbuilders, and specialists in artillery, hydraulics, and metallurgy. Kure Naval Arsenal became a city of production, where prefabricated sections were assembled, guns were mounted, and armor plates carefully riveted into place. Every aspect of construction was overseen by senior engineers who had to constantly adapt to the challenges of building a ship of unprecedented size and complexity. Special attention was paid to the arrangement of internal compartments. Crew quarters, engine rooms, ammunition magazines, and command centers were carefully positioned to optimize workflow, maintain balance, and ensure survivability. The ship contained over 2,500 compartments, interconnected by thousands of ladders, corridors, and hatches, allowing the crew to move efficiently during both normal operations and battle conditions. Ventilation, lighting, and emergency systems were state-of-the-art for the time, designed to sustain the crew during long deployments in open ocean operations. Engineering challenges and innovations. Designing Yamato presented unique engineering challenges. One of the most significant was weight management. The enormous guns and thick armor could have caused stability issues, so engineers developed a hull form that widened at the waterline to lower the center of gravity. Ballast tanks and compartmentalization were carefully planned to absorb impacts from torpedoes and shell fire. The propulsion system was equally advanced. 4 geared steam turbines generated a combined 150,000 shaft horsepower, driving 4 massive propellers. Steam was produced by 12 oil-fired water tube boilers, each with its own network of pipes, pumps, and valves. The turbines and boilers required continuous monitoring and maintenance, with crews working in shifts around the clock to ensure optimal performance. Yamato's maximum speed was 27 knots, remarkable for a ship of its size, allowing it to operate alongside fast elements of the fleet. However, fuel consumption was enormous. During full-speed operations, Yamato could burn over 250 tons of oil per hour, which required careful operational planning and limited the ship's flexibility. Innovation extended to fire control systems. Yamato featured advanced rangefinders, targeting computers, and mechanical calculators that allowed the main guns to accurately engage targets at extreme distances. Spotting planes were often launched from catapults to assist with targeting, providing observers with high vantage points for corrections in range and bearing. The ship's internal communication systems allowed gunnery officers, engine crews, and command staff to coordinate actions efficiently even during the chaos of battle. Yamato, armament, early training, and fleet exercises. Yamato's main battery of 3 triple 46-centimeter turrets was the centerpiece of its offensive capability. Each turret, weighing over 2,700 tons, required a team of dozens of sailors to operate efficiently. The guns fired shells that weighed nearly 1,460 kilograms, and these shells could penetrate over 650 millimeters of armor at ranges exceeding 40 kilometers. Firing one of these massive rounds required precise coordination. The gun crew had to calculate bearing, elevation, wind speed, air density, and target movement simultaneously. The secondary battery, consisting of 12 155mm guns, was housed in 4 triple turrets. These guns could engage smaller warships, such as cruisers or destroyers, providing defensive fire for Yamato's flanks. The high-angle dual-purpose guns, 48 127mm cannons, were designed to engage both surface and aerial targets. Additional 25mm anti-aircraft guns were positioned throughout the ship, creating overlapping fields of fire to defend against aircraft attacks. Engineers also installed advanced fire control systems to maximize accuracy. Rangefinders and mechanical analog computers allowed gunnery officers to track multiple targets simultaneously. Spotting aircraft launched from Yamato's catapults enhanced targeting precision. The combination of heavy armor, massive guns, and advanced targeting systems made Yamato arguably the most lethal battleship ever constructed, at least on paper. Every shell fired was a demonstration of engineering, firepower, and sheer destructive potential. Early training and crew integration. Once construction was completed in late 1941, the crew of Yamato underwent months of rigorous training. The ship required a complement of over 2,700 officers and sailors to operate effectively. Training involved gunnery practice, damage control exercises, navigation drills, engine room operation, and emergency response. Each crew member had a specific role, and coordination was crucial. Even minor errors could result in disaster during combat. Training exercises focused heavily on the operation of the main battery. Sailors practiced loading and firing 46-centimeter shells in simulated combat conditions. Target practice involved firing at floating targets, which tested range, elevation adjustments, and timing. Engineers and technicians worked alongside the gunners to ensure all systems were functioning correctly. In addition to gunnery, crew members trained for damage control. Firefighting drills, flooding control, and compartment sealing were conducted continuously. These exercises proved invaluable during later combat, as they instilled discipline, confidence, and readiness in the crew. Officers also conducted drills to coordinate air defense, managing both the dual-purpose guns and anti-aircraft weaponry in simulated attacks from enemy aircraft. Fleet exercises and maneuvers. Yamato's first operational deployment involved participation in large-scale fleet exercises across the Inland Sea and Western Pacific. These exercises tested the coordination of multiple warships, including cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels. The primary objectives were to simulate fleet engagements, develop tactical doctrines, and integrate Yamato's firepower effectively within the battle line. The exercises highlighted both strengths and weaknesses. Yamato's massive guns could dominate an engagement at extreme range, but maneuvering a ship of over 70,000 tons required careful planning. Fleet commanders noted that while Yamato could outgun any opponent, its slow acceleration and large turning radius made it less flexible in rapid combat situations. Additionally, coordination with smaller vessels required precise signaling and timing to avoid collisions or friendly fire. During exercises, crews also practiced anti-aircraft defense. Carrier-based aircraft simulated attacks, allowing gunners to test their aim and response times. Engineers monitored the performance of the propulsion system under sustained speeds, ensuring the turbines could maintain the ship's 27-knot top speed during extended operations. These fleet exercises were essential for preparing Yamato for its later combat missions, allowing the crew to operate as a cohesive, disciplined unit. Technical anecdotes and rare facts. Several little-known details emerged during these early training exercises. For instance, the ship's massive turrets required constant lubrication and mechanical adjustments. A single misalignment could delay firing for minutes. Crew members reported the sheer noise and vibration of the main guns as deafening, creating an almost surreal experience during live-fire exercises. Another fact concerns the catapult-launched float planes used for reconnaissance and artillery spotting. These planes required careful handling during takeoff and recovery, as the ship's pitch and roll could complicate operations. Maintenance crews had to perform around-the-clock work to ensure the planes and catapults remained operational. Despite these challenges, the crew developed an extraordinary familiarity with the ship. Officers and sailors alike often remarked on the sense of pride and awe they felt while operating Yamato, a floating city of steel, power, and human effort. These early months of preparation laid the foundation for the ship's legendary reputation in the Pacific War. Yamato, combat operations, Leyte Gulf, deployment to combat zones. After months of training and fleet exercises, Yamato was finally assigned to combat operations in 1944. The ship's first major deployment placed it in a defensive and deterrent role, as Japan sought to protect its remaining strategic positions in the Pacific. Yamato's immense firepower made it a central element of the Japanese fleet, intended to confront Allied forces in decisive battles. The early deployments involved escorting troop transports, patrolling key maritime routes, and demonstrating presence to deter American and Allied naval advances. While Yamato did not see immediate action, these operations tested the crew under real conditions. Engineers monitored the ship's systems under sustained operations, gunners practiced firing drills with live shells, and the fleet honed its coordination during multi-ship maneuvers. These preliminary operations set the stage for Yamato's later engagement at Leyte Gulf. Strategic importance of Leyte Gulf. By October 1944, the Philippines had become a critical theater. The American invasion of Leyte threatened Japanese supply lines and access to resources. The Imperial Japanese Navy devised a complex plan to counter the invasion, Operation Shogo, involving multiple task forces to strike from different directions. Yamato formed the core of the center force, which was to move from Brunei and the South China Sea to engage Allied forces. The strategic goal was clear: use Yamato's overwhelming firepower to destroy enemy cruisers, carriers, and landing forces, thereby preventing the establishment of American footholds in the Philippines. Naval planners understood that Yamato could dominate conventional surface engagements, but air superiority posed a growing threat. This tension between traditional battleship power and modern air power would define the outcome of the engagement. The Battle of Leyte Gulf, Yamato's role. Yamato's movement toward Leyte Gulf involved coordination with several other capital ships, including the super battleship Musashi, cruisers, and destroyer escorts. The fleet was massive, yet coordination remained challenging due to radio silence, complex formations, and the need to avoid detection. During the approach, American reconnaissance aircraft spotted the Japanese center force. Carrier-based planes launched repeated attacks, testing Yamato's anti-aircraft defenses. Despite the concentrated fire from 127mm and 25mm guns, multiple aircraft managed to strike, causing minor damage, but signaling the vulnerability of even the largest battleships to sustained aerial assault. As the fleet engaged American escort carriers and light cruisers, Yamato's main guns were fired in anger. Observers reported that 46cm shells could obliterate smaller ships at extreme range. The psychological impact on American sailors was significant. Witnessing a ship of Yamato's size firing such massive rounds was intimidating. Tactical maneuvers by the Japanese command sought to maximize firepower while minimizing exposure to air attacks, but the increasing dominance of Allied aircraft limited the ship's operational effectiveness. Tactical analysis and damage reports. Despite the immense firepower, Yamato's engagement at Leyte Gulf highlighted key limitations. The ship's slow maneuvering and large size made it difficult to evade torpedoes and bomb runs. Engineers noted that while the armor could withstand most shell fire, concentrated air attacks could compromise critical systems, including propulsion and ammunition handling. Reports indicate that Yamato fired several salvos at American cruisers and destroyers, scoring hits at extreme range, but the limited number of engagements compared to its potential firepower reflected both strategic caution and the growing impact of air attacks. Commanders on board had to balance the need to engage enemy vessels with the need to preserve the ship for future operations, creating a tension between aggression and prudence. Damage reports from the battle show minor structural hits, some fires, and temporary malfunctions in secondary gun systems. The crew's training and drills ensured rapid response, preventing catastrophic failure. These experiences would later inform the crew's approach during the ship's final mission, a task that would test Yamato's resilience to its limits. Human element, crew experiences in combat. Throughout Leyte Gulf, the human element played a crucial role. Officers coordinated maneuvers, gunnery crews maintained firing sequences, and damage control teams worked tirelessly to respond to minor hits and fires. Sailors described the surreal experience of operating the largest battleship in the world under real combat conditions. The roar of 46-centimeter guns, the shaking of the hull from explosions, and the constant vigilance against air attacks created an environment of intense stress and focus. Individual acts of heroism emerged during the battle. Some sailors risked personal safety to repair damaged machinery, extinguish fires, or manually operate gun turrets when automated systems failed. These stories reflect not just technical mastery, but also courage, discipline, and the human capacity to adapt under extreme pressure. Yamato, final mission. Tengo preparation for Operation Tengo, 2 to 3 minutes. By April 1945, Japan faced imminent defeat. Allied forces had captured key islands, and the American invasion of Okinawa threatened the Japanese mainland. In response, the Imperial Japanese Navy devised Operation Tengo, a desperate plan to disrupt the American advance. Yamato, the pride of the Japanese fleet, was to play a central role in this operation. The mission was unprecedented in its audacity. Yamato was to sail with minimal fuel, accompanied by a few destroyers, to attack American forces at Okinawa. There would be no realistic chance of returning to Japan. The ship's crew was aware that this was likely a one-way mission. The operation reflected both the desperation of Japan in the final months of the war and the enduring symbolic importance of Yamato as a naval powerhouse. Priorities. Voyage to Okinawa. Yamato departed from the inland sea on April 6, 1945, under the command of Vice Admiral Seiichi Ito. The fleet's movement was planned to be swift, aiming to surprise American forces. Sailors knew the stakes. The mission was essentially a final stand. Morale was a complex mix of pride, fear, and resignation. As Yamato sailed southward, crews maintained a continuous watch, prepared for potential encounters with submarines or aircraft. Engineers monitored turbines and boilers under prolonged operation, ensuring the ship maintained its top speed of 27 knots. Gunners tested secondary and anti-aircraft weapons, knowing that air attacks were inevitable. During this voyage, officers reinforced battle plans, damage control procedures, and evacuation protocols, despite the knowledge that survival was unlikely. Initial contact and air attacks. On April 7th, Yamato's task force was detected by American reconnaissance aircraft. Soon after, waves of carrier-based aircraft from Task Force 58 approached, carrying bombs and torpedoes. The Japanese fleet attempted evasive maneuvers while engaging with anti-aircraft fire. Despite firing hundreds of rounds from 127mm and 25mm guns, the sheer number of attacking aircraft overwhelmed defenses. Torpedoes struck the hull, causing flooding in multiple compartments. Bombs detonated on the deck and near critical areas, leading to fires and further damage. Yamato's immense armor absorbed some of the blows, but the cumulative effect proved catastrophic. Damage control teams worked frantically, pumping out water, extinguishing fires, and trying to maintain propulsion. Crew members reported the sensation of a floating fortress under relentless attack. The vibration of shells, explosions, and the heat of fires created an environment of extreme danger and chaos. Bertito's Sayan. Critical damage and sinking. As the attack intensified, Yamato's mobility decreased. Torpedo hits destroyed sections of the hull and affected the propeller shafts, reducing speed. Fires spread to ammunition storage areas, threatening catastrophic explosions. Despite heroic efforts by the crew, the ship began to list heavily. Reports from surviving crew indicate that the ship capsized in less than an hour after the concentrated air assault. More than 3,000 sailors perished with Yamato, with only a few hundred surviving. Witness accounts describe the massive ship rolling over and disappearing beneath the waves. A poignant end for what was once the most powerful battleship in the world. Operation 10 Go illustrated the lethal impact of air power against even the largest and most heavily armored battleships. Yamato's sinking marked the symbolic and strategic decline of the battleship era, demonstrating that naval warfare had shifted decisively towards aircraft carriers and air superiority. Human stories and heroism. Amid the chaos, numerous acts of courage occurred. Damage control teams risked their lives to keep pumps operational. Officers stayed at their posts, coordinating responses even as the ship rolled and flooded. Individual sailors helped colleagues escape fires or flooded compartments, exemplifying discipline, bravery, and solidarity. Vice Admiral Ito went down with the ship, symbolizing the personal commitment and sacrifice of Japanese officers. Survivors recounted the haunting sight of Yamato's massive structure collapsing under waves of bombs and torpedoes, leaving a legacy of heroism and tragedy intertwined with the story of a technological marvel. Yamato. Crew experiences and rare stories. Life aboard Yamato. Life aboard Yamato was unlike any other naval experience. The battleship, essentially a floating city, required the coordinated effort of over 2,700 officers and sailors. Each member had a defined role, from gunnery crews operating massive 46-centimeter turrets to engineers maintaining turbines and boilers, to cooks and medical staff supporting day-to-day life. Crew members described the immense scale of the ship, corridors stretching hundreds of meters, multiple decks stacked with machinery, living quarters, and operational centers. Meals were served in large mess halls, where the sounds of engines and distant gun drills created a constant reminder of the ship's purpose. Sleeping quarters were tight, often shared between multiple sailors, emphasizing both the discipline and the camaraderie necessary to sustain operations over long deployments. Daily routines and training. Even when not in combat, life aboard Yamato was demanding. Daily routines included maintenance checks on propulsion systems, gunnery drills, anti-aircraft exercises, and emergency simulations. Sailors worked in shifts, ensuring that turbines, boilers, and guns were operational at all times. Officers frequently inspected equipment, verified ammunition supplies, and conducted drills simulating air attacks, torpedo strikes, and flooding. These practices were essential, as even minor mistakes could have catastrophic consequences in battle. Crew members often noted that the constant drills, though exhausting, fostered confidence and cohesion, qualities that would later prove crucial during Operation 10-Go. Personal stories and heroism. Numerous personal accounts highlight the courage and ingenuity of Yamato's crew. One sailor, Lieutenant Hashimi, reportedly risked his life multiple times to repair machinery in flooded compartments, ensuring that pumps kept working during enemy attacks. Another crew member recalled manually operating an anti-aircraft gun when the automated system failed during a drill, successfully tracking a simulated attack plane. The psychological dimension was profound. Sailors faced constant awareness of the ship's size and vulnerability. While proud to serve aboard the world's largest battleship, they also understood the potential for destruction. Diaries from officers reveal a mix of awe, fear, and determination, painting a vivid picture of the human side of operating a technological marvel. Rare and little-known facts. Several unique aspects of Yamato's operation are often overlooked. For instance, the ship's ventilation system had to circulate air across miles of interior passageways, maintaining breathable conditions for thousands of men. Engineers developed complex networks of pumps and fans to manage heat from engines and guns. The catapult-launched reconnaissance planes also had an unusual role in daily life. They required constant maintenance and careful coordination, with crews trained to launch and recover them under rough sea conditions. Such details, though minor in comparison to battles, highlight the extraordinary complexity of operating a vessel of Yamato's magnitude. Furthermore, Yamato's crew engaged in recreational activities when possible. Card games, storytelling, and musical performances were common during downtime, offering brief respite from the rigorous demands of naval service. These moments humanized life aboard a battleship that was otherwise defined by steel, firepower, and the looming shadow of war. Impact on morale and culture. Yamato was not just a weapon, it was a symbol of pride for those who served on her. The ship's immense size, technological sophistication, and legendary reputation fostered a sense of belonging and purpose. Sailors and officers alike felt that serving aboard Yamato was both an honor and a profound responsibility. The ship also shaped naval culture. Stories of bravery, technical mastery, and teamwork were passed down among crew members. Even after the ship's sinking, these accounts became part of Japan's naval lore, commemorating the human effort that went into operating the largest battleship ever constructed. The combination of discipline, skill, and courage demonstrated by the crew remains a key element in understanding Yamato's legacy.